Paul Pierce was featured in a new Sports Illustrated interview where he broke down his whole Hall of Fame career. Pierce also spoke about his time as a broadcaster, implying he doesn't miss that line of work, in part because you have to talk about LeBron all the time. Pierce and James were rivals for years, including classic matchups during the Eastern Conference playoffs, as LeBron started cementing his own Hall of Fame legacy. So, Skip, your reaction to all of that?
Shannon Sharp.
Yep.
I have long been a Paul Pierce fan for one reason and one reason only. Because the truth, as Paul was called, never believed LeBron James was the truth. He never highly respected him the way most of his rivals do. In fact, he was the one and only rival who never bought completely into LeBron, never sold out to LeBron, never became friends or even friendly with LeBron, and never became business partners with LeBron the way Draymond did after Draymond called LeBron the B word during a finals game, got suspended over it, and the next thing I know, the offseason comes, and he's become a business partner of LeBron James. And I'm like, okay, game over. You gave it up. That's fine. LeBron is highly likable. I think he's a nice guy. I don't know Paul Pierce, but I just know that he loved playing against LeBron, and he ultimately despised even having to talk about LeBron as he retired into television. He had a hard time getting the words out of his mouth because he hated LeBron in the basketball, just in the basketball sense. And they went at it. And I'm going to remind everybody, Paul Pierce was 7+ years older than LeBron.
Yes.
He did not keep himself in the greatest of physical condition the way LeBron has, which is the secret to his duration into, what are we up to, year 19 next year for LeBron. Paul wasn't going to last that long, but when Paul was the truth for the Boston Celtics, especially in 2008 and then 2010, he gave LeBron all LeBron wanted. I thought Paul outplayed him. In 2010, they met in the conference semifinals, you recall, and it went to Game 7. And all you blind witnesses out there, I dare you to go look up the play-by-play to that game down the stretch. Both of them had huge games. Paul had 41, 4, and 5. LeBron had 45, 5, and 6. But down the stretch, it's mano a mano. And I'm not saying Paul was a great defender, but he was a good one because he was wily, he was slick, and he would compete at the highest level and use every trick in the book. And he used them down the stretch, and over the last 2:20 of that game, LeBron went 0 for 3 from the floor and did make 1 of 2 free throws, but late in the game, it was 16.5 seconds left. He could have cut it to 3, and he missed the second free throw. And Paul did make the 2 that iced the game with 7.9 seconds left, so that was Game 7 of 2008 when obviously Paul and company went on to win the NBA Finals, and he was the MVP. And he was a 10-time All-Star. And then it all culminated in 2010 when, obviously, once again, they met in the conference semifinals. And if you recall, LeBron played what I thought was his greatest game ever. You could say there are other bigger, like the Game 6 at Boston. And what year was that? 2011? Yeah, 2012. When he finally broke through and won his ring. But in that series, it was Game 3 at Boston Garden, and LeBron just went off. It was a Friday night, May the 7th, and LeBron went 38, 8, and 7 to put them up 2-1. And then Paul Pierce took the series over defensively, and LeBron was held over the next 3 games to 21 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. That's good, but he averaged 6 turnovers a game in those last 3 games. They lost all 3. LeBron was a -37 in those games. Paul was a +61 in those 3 games. And that was when a member or 2 or 3 members of the inner circle of LeBron James told ESPN that LeBron had to be sedated before those 3 games because of a locker room issue. I'll leave it at that. I was a little skeptical about that. And then Dan Gilbert, as you recall, said that accused LeBron of quitting over those 3 games. So that was the peak of Paul Pierce versus LeBron was right there. Thereafter, LeBron just took over that rivalry, and it wasn't much of a rivalry. And especially when he got to Miami, he just took it over. Well, I'm just saying. But Paul Pierce gave him all he wanted in 2008 and 2010, and he never backed off. He never gave in.
But you got to tell the whole context.
Yeah, I just did.
Okay, 2008 and 2010, who did he have on his roster?
Yeah, well, he's going against the quote-unquote best player on the planet.
No. We remember that. It doesn't matter. Because Kevin Durant, you said yesterday, he didn't have anybody.
Who was the MVP of the 2008 finals? Paul Pierce. Okay, so he was the best player of those big three, right?
Let me get to this. Actually, KG. But anyway, let me get to this. Start at this first. I don't think Paul Pierce really understands how TV works. TV works like that. LeBron James is the biggest star in basketball.
Well, sure. But I'm just saying that's how much he despised LeBron. He couldn't even get the name out of his mouth.
He despised him because the man surpassed him. By LeBron's second year in the league, NBA, he was better than Paul Pierce was going to ever be. Because you have to understand.
Well, I'll give you that.
Paul Pierce came in the league in 98, Skip.
Yep.
So he got Shaq was Shaq. Tim Duncan was Timmy, and you had Dirk Nowitzki.
Yep.
You had Kobe starting to be Kobe. You have AI. And now all of a sudden Paul Pierce says, well, I'm somewhere in there. You get an 18-year-old kid comes into the NBA, and everybody's hyping him.
Yep.
You got a 26-year-old is jealous of an 18-year-old because everybody is hyping him. If you think about it, Skip, you keep saying with 2008, it was Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, and I got Pert. Going against LeBron James, Delonte West, Ben Wallace in year 12, Wally Zerbiak, and Ilgauskas.
Okay.
You think that's fair?
Well, you told me, you tell me every day that LeBron is the greatest ever. He's the GOAT.
KD had the same opportunity. KD.
Yeah.
Okay. So you keep saying the two series that Paul Pierce won in 2008 and 2010.
Yep.
LeBron James averaged 27, 8, and 7. Paul Pierce averaged 17, 5, and 4. Now, once he got help, he got with Chris Bosh. He got with Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
LeBron won 3 series, 31, 8, and 4. Paul Pierce was 17, 5, and 2.
Wait a second. I pointed out, though, what happened in Game 7 of 2008? Help me out.
Who
outplayed whom in Game 7? When the money got pushed to the middle of the table, who outplayed whom?
You see what you do?
I'm not doing it. I'm spitting facts that you cannot refute.
Pick individual games.
It's the game. It's Game 7. You're so LeBron in Game 7. Baloney.
Okay, was his game better than LeBron Game 6 of 2012? Since we're going to pick individual games.
Well, this is head-to-head. We're doing the head-to-head.
Was Paul Pierce playing in 2012?
Yeah.
Was he playing against the Boston Celtics?
Yeah, but we're talking about when he was in his prime. He was out of his prime by that point.
Oh, he was out of, so just 2 years later, he was out of his prime.
When he hit 30, he was pretty well washed out.
You see what you did, Skip?
Well, I did. You know it, and I know it. Skip. I just said he didn't take care of himself.
That ain't my fault.
Okay, well,
that's not LeBron's fault either.
So how do you explain what happened in 2010 when LeBron had one of his greatest games? I thought it was his greatest, and they're up 2-1. And then LeBron, over 3 games that they lose, he averages only 21 points with 6 turnovers a game. 6 turnovers? He had 19 total turnovers in 3 games. Help me out.
Skip.
How do you explain it? How do you defend it? You can't.
Because what they had was Defensive Player of the Year in Kevin Garnett. They had Big Pert, and they did a great job of walling him off. So Paul Pierce always had help. But what happened when LeBron got help that was equal to Paul Pierce's help? How many times did they win the series? Because, see, what you do is that you always say LeBron is the best player. He should overcome all obstacles. But you never said that about Michael. You never said that about KD, that they should overcome all obstacles, no matter the circumstances. Okay. But only LeBron is supposed to do that.
Okay, I give you that ultimately LeBron was much better than Paul Pierce. I give you that. But the point was, Paul Pierce was a very credible rival from 2008 to 2010.
Skip,
when the money was on the table, it was Paul Pierce's
game. He had the better team.
Okay, but he was the truth. He was the best player on his team.
I get this, but Skip, so is Kevin Garnett not a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Sure.
Is Ray Allen not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I think you would be a first ballot Hall of Famer in basketball.
But I'm saying, so which one of those guys? So I need to know, Delonte West, Ilgauskas, Ben Wallace finally went to the Hall of Fame, Wally Zerbiak. Yeah. Which one of those guys is going to the Hall of Fame?
Okay.
Now, he got 3 guys in his starting lineup. Rondo's probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
Wasn't Mo Williams on that team?
Oh, Mo Williams going to the Hall of Fame too, huh?
No, but he was good. He was an all-star. Pretty good player.
You see what you do, Skip?
I'm just doing.
So under that case, hold on. Wasn't Blake Griffin an all-star? Wasn't DeAndre Jordan the All-Star?
Okay.
Since you want to take All-Stars, even though it was many, many years ago, you see what you do, Skip? Paul Pierce has never been a rival. The hammer and the
rival?
Skip.
Are you kidding me?
Skip. The hammer.
He owned him through 2010. Owned him.
No.
Just flat out owned him. Made him quit, according to Dan Gilbert. Made him quit.
Dan Gilbert,
the owner wrote that he quit.
Dan Gilbert is the jilted lover. You know what happens when people break up? They say you were terrible. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. Things they never said when we were together and everything was going great. But the moment things don't go great, you say all these negative things because you try to paint me in a negative light. But guess what? Even though Dan Gilbert said all that, who got their ass on a plane and went like a thief in the night down to Fort Lauderdale to have a meeting with Rich Paul and LeBron James? Tell the people at home who did that.
Ilgauskas.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it was Ilgauskas.
It was Dan Gilbert.
But Ilgauskas was on the flight too. You ask, I answer.
Hold on. Why would you go talk about a guy that quit? A guy that was the self-proclaimed great, a king. Why would you do that if that man quit on your ball club?
Well, he still believes that he quit.
Yeah, you see what you say? You say things when you hurt, Skip.
Okay, I'm just telling you, he was a very credible rival because he beat LeBron when it mattered the most in 2008 and 2010. And the point was that he never let it go. He never sold out to LeBron the way everybody does because he's the face of the league. He never buddied up. He never got close. He never befriended LeBron, and I respected that. He did not believe that man was the truth. He believed that under fire, under the greatest pressure, Game 7 of 2008, he would come apart. That's what Paul Pierce always believed.
But see, you love to say that he came apart when you got the better team. What happened when LeBron...